Hey everyone, hope you all are well. I'm kicking things off by priming the eye area to ensure that the shadows that I apply will glide onto the eyes nice and smoothly. It'll prevent them from creasing and it'll just enable them to last all day long, which is what we want. I was going through my collection recently and trying to cut down, and I came across some palettes that I hadn't used in a while, so I decided to bust them back out. For today's look, I'm creating a soft glam makeup look with the ABH Soft Glam eyeshadow palette, and the first shade I'm taking is called Dusty Rose. Very appropriately named because colour wise it is just that, and I'm blending this into the crease. I think I have maybe 4 or 5 tutorials up on my channel using this palette. I've them in a playlist below if you want to check out any of the other looks. But today's makeup look is definitely out of my comfort zone. These wouldn't be shades that I'd usually wear, but I do really like how the look turned out. So I'm just continuing to smoke that shadow into the crease of the eye. As always, once I've the bulk of the product off of my brush, I start to raise my brush a little higher in the crease each time, just to fade out that shadow up towards the brow bone. So initially I keep it deep in the crease, as that's where I want most of the colour, and then I fade up from there. And I'm just sweeping down onto the outer third of the lid now, blending it across the eye. And it's a really simple look. There's just not really too much involved in it. So I'm switching brushes now to a smaller, more precise brush because I'm adding the shadow now down along the lower lash line. So I'm sweeping it from outer to inner corner, making sure those edges connect. And to really buff out the shadow now, I'm going back in with the fluffy blending brush and I'm sweeping over the edges of the lower lash line. For the lid now, I'm picking up the shade Rose Pink, which is a shimmer shade, and I'm using a flat C-shaped brush to apply this to the eyelid. Now sometimes I apply the shadow wet so the shimmery particles really pop, but these shadows, I think they're shimmery enough on their own. I was happy enough with the finish. So I just added it dry, and I'm not only applying this shade to the eyelid, but I'm sweeping it up into the crease of the inner half of the lid, which I never usually do, but it's going to make the eyes look a bit bigger and add a bit more glam. So pink on its own on the eyes can be really hard to pull off. Sometimes it can make the eyes look a bit irritated. So I'm going in now with Cypress Umber, which is a matte brown, and I'm using this to add some depth, and I'm just picking it up on a small tapered blending brush because I only want to add the colour to the outer corner of the eye in a particular way. I don't want to take the focus away from those pink tones. So I'm just smoking this at the lash line on the outer third of the eye at an angle up towards the crease, and I'm building that shadow up very gradually. So I'm taking a little bit at a time on my brush, intensifying the eyeshadow as I go and perfecting the shape, and applying the shadow at an angle like this is going to give a nice bit of a lift to the eyes. Once I'm happy enough then with how that looks, I'm going back in with the fluffy brush that I used initially, taking whatever is left on that brush, and I'm just sweeping at an angle over the brown, just at the very edge to make sure that it's nice and soft. Next then I'm taking Noir, which is a gorgeous matte black, and I've really hit pan on this shade. There's a massive hole in it, not that you can see because I take all my product shots before I use my makeup, but it's a gorgeous black. So I'm using a smaller brush now again to add the black to the lash line. The darker the shadow is that I'm using to create depth, the smaller the brush then that I'll use because of the placement. So I only want it in a specific area to create depth, and naturally a smaller brush will allow me to achieve this. So I like to pat the eyeshadow down where I want it with the pencil brush, and then I'm moving back to that tapered blending brush, and I'm using this then to fade the edges. So I have the pigmentation where I want it, and then I'm using the small blending brush just because then I've more control. So to define that upper lash line then, and to help to conceal the band of the lashes that I'll be applying in a moment, I'm picking up some more of that black eyeshadow, this time on an angled brush, just because it hugs the lash line, and I'm pressing the shadow all the way across the eye. And I think it's easier to do when the eye is closed because then you're pretty much just pressing it down in a straight line. And then I'm doing the exact same to the lower lash line, initially tapping the brown down there, followed then by the black, and I'm not bringing it all the way across the lash line, and this will complement the work that we've done above. It'll still give us the illusion that there's a nice lift to the eyes. For the waterline, I'm taking this brown pencil from Wet n Wild called Pretty in Mink, and sometimes my eyes water when I'm lining this area, so I like to make sure that I keep blinking to prevent this from happening, or alternatively I close my eye around the pencil. This does the top and bottom waterline as well, and then I don't have to worry about my eyes watering because my eye is closed. So now to add a bit of brightness to around the eye area, I'm using Tempera. I've added lashes I added the Kiss lashes in the style Little Black Dress. I wanted some definition but didn't want really long lashes to overpower the look and take from the shadows. These are short enough, but they're nice and black, so they really do the job. And then as always, I'm adding the Mega Length mascara. But then that's pretty much it. So I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I hope you found it helpful and easy to follow. If you did, let me know, and I'll catch you soon.